UHD quality video streaming, internet like a boss. SLT Mobitel Fiber. UHD quality video streaming, internet like a boss. SLT Mobitel Fiber.
රින් වෙළඳපොලේ අඩුම මිලකට රුපියල් 180යි.
Tonight, maneuvering to keep the darkness at bay, Subject Minister assures that there won't be power cuts. Meanwhile, the President steps in to ensure the Electricity Board's debt is paid to the CPC. Another plus. Latest UK study finds that vaccinated people are less likely to develop long COVID. Distancing from ISBs. Central Bank Governor brushes aside concerns over meeting the country's debt obligations this year.
In the last 2.5 years, we have reduced our ISP exposure by 17%, and by July, we would reduce it by 23%.
The power of the Catholic Church. The Cardinal hopes to go fully international in the quest to seek justice over the Easter Sunday terror attacks.
As a Cardinal, I have my own fellow brothers who are Cardinals in different important cities and important countries. Where we will be able to do that.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Monday, the 24th of January 2022.
Guru Karadu Mungu Tulsi Saha Kuruntuwale Hakunen Lauchi Ginger Plus.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanayaka. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa stepped in today to resolve the country's power issues and instructed the Treasury to release the necessary funds to settle the Ceylon Electricity Board's 93 billion rupee debt to the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. Following a meeting chaired by the head of state, it was also revealed that the CEB and the CPC have agreed to give autonomy to the Electricity Board to import their fuel requirements going forward. Now, with the CBSL agreeing to release funds to make payments for 2 fuel shipments, Minister of Power Gamini Lokuge assures that there will be no power cuts from today.
Last Saturday, the Ceylon Electricity Board said that scheduled power cuts are possible on Tuesday as the Utturu Janani power plant in Churnakam as well as the Baj Mountain power plant at the Colombo port will run out of furnace oil. With that being the case, they said that if required information of power cuts will be announced in advance today. But this afternoon, the Ceylon Electricity Board Engineers Union announced a power cut set for this evening. They even gave a timetable of the supposed planned disruption to the power supply. As a reason for the power cut, they gave the operations at the Sabugaskanda power plant coming to a halt due to it running out of furnace oil this afternoon. The trade union's announcement caught people by surprise.
ඒක සම්පූර්ණ වැරදි දෙයක්. මොකද ට්‍රේඩ් යූනියන් එකකට කිසිම අයිතියක් නැහැ. ලංකාවේ විදුලිය කප්පාදුව ගැන කතා කිරීම. ලංකාවේ විදුලිය පිළිබඳ තීරණ ගැනීම, විදුලිය කප්පාදුව ගැන විශේෂයෙන් තීරණ ගැනීම පනතින් ප්‍රකාරව මහජන උපයෝගිතා කොමිසමට ලැබිලා තියෙන නිසා මම හිතනවා මේ වෘත්තීය සමිතිය මේකෙන් පොඩක් ඈත් වෙලා මහජනතාව ව්‍යාකූල තත්ත්වයට පත් නොකර ඉන්නවා නම් ඒක වැදගත් වෙනවා.
Speaking further, PUCSL chairman Janaka Ratnayaka also explained the process of decision making pertaining to a power cut.
අපි අවසර දෙනවා නම් අවසර දෙන්නේ මේ වගේ ලිඛිත දැන්වීමක් අපිට ලැබුණාම ඒ පිළිබඳ අපි විමසීමක් කරනු ලබනවා ඊට අදාළ ආයතන සමග සයන්ටිෆික් ඇනාලිසිස් එකක් කරලා තමයි අපි තීරණය කරන්නේ මේ පව කපනවාද පව කපන්නේ නැද්ද කියන එක තීරණය කරලා කොච්චර වෙලා පව කපනවාද කියන එක තීරණය කරනු ලබන්නේ අපි විසින්.
In the meantime, a special discussion with regard to the power crisis in the country was held under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa this afternoon with the participation of Subject Minister Gamini Lokuge, Minister of Energy Uday Gamanpilla and Governor of Central Bank Ajit Niwad Kabral. Speaking to media afterwards, Minister Lokuge announced some positive news to the public.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා කිව්වා විදුලිය විසන්ධි නොකර යන්න පුළුවන් වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ඉදිරිපත්
කරනවා. තෙල් තියනවද?
තෙල් තියෙනවා කියන්නේ දැන්ට තෙල් තියෙනවා. ඉදිරි තෙල්ුත් ලබා ගන්න ඔක්කොම ලෑස්ති කරා.
ඒක සල්ලි තේරම හම්බුණා.
ඔව්.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඉදිරියට විදුලි කප්පාදුවක් සිදුවන්නේ නැහැ.
සිදුවන්නේ නැහැ.
අපි පෙන්නලා දුන්නා පෞගිය වතාවේ විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය කිව්වේ 22 වෙනිදා වෙනකම් පමණයි දෙවි තෙල් අවශ්‍ය කියලා. දැන් ඒ 30 වෙනිදා දක්වා ඉල්ලනවා. අපි ඊට විසඳුමක් විදියට අද මුහුද මැද තිබුණු ඩීසල් නැව අපිට බාලා දුන්නොත් අපි ඩීසල් සහ දෙවි තෙල් වලින් දෙකෙන්ම විදුලි නිෂ්පාදනය කර කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙස්ට් කෝස්ට් විදුලි බලාගාරයට දැවිතෙල් වෙනුවට ඩීසල් ලබා දීලා ඒතර සපුගස් කන්දේ දැන්ට නතර කරලා තියෙන දැවිතෙල් විදුලි බලාගාරයට දැවිතෙල් ලබා දීමට අපි එකඟතාවය පළ කරා. ඒ අනුව මහ බැංකුව අධිපතිතුමාට වහම මේ ඩීසල් නැව නිදහස් කරලා දෙන්න කිව්වා. ඒ අනුව අපිට ඔවුන් ඉල්ලා සිටි ඩීසල් සහ දැවිතෙල් ප්‍රමාණයන් ලබා දෙන්න කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි පෙන්නලා දුන්නා අපිට දැනට රුපියල් බිලියන 93ක් විදුලි බල ක්ෂේත්‍රයෙන් ණයයි කියලා. ඒතර ජනාධිපතිතුමා ඒ ණය ටික ගෙවන්න විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයට අවශ්‍ය මුදල් නිදහස් කරන්න භාණ්ඩාගාරයට උපදෙස් දුන්නා. බොහෝ වෙලාවට අපිට මේ මාසේ 30 වෙනිදා සපුගස්කන්ද විදුලි බලාගාරයේ වැඩ කටයුතු ආරම්භ කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඉදිරියේදී විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයට ඉන්දියානු ණය පාසුකමක් ඇත්තේ ඍජුව ඒ අයට අවශ්‍ය කරන ඩීසල් සහ දැවිතෙල් ලබා ගැනීමටත් ඒ ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා අපේ එකඟතාවය ලබා දුන්නා. ඒ නිසා මේ වෙන විට මුදල් අමාත්‍යතුමා මේ වෙන විට ලංකා විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය වෙනුවෙන් ඉන්දියාවේ ණය පාසුකමක් ලබා ගන්න සාකච්ඡා කරනවා. ඒත් ඔවුන්ට ඍජුව දැවිතෙල් සහ ඩීසල් ආනයනය කිරීමට එකඟතාවය අපි විසින් ලබා දුන්නා.
මහ බැංකුව අධිපතිවරයා කිව්වා ඔක්කොම හරි කියලා. ජනතාවට බය වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ කියලා. ඒක හරිද?
දැනට මූද මැද තියෙන නැව් දෙකට අවශ්‍ය කරන ඩොලර් ලබා දීමට මහ බැංකුවේ අධිපතිතුමා එකඟතාවය පළ කරා.
In the meantime, speaking at a media briefing early in the day, Minister of Power Gamini Lokuge accused unions of attempting to push the government towards unnecessary emergency power purchasing at exorbitant costs.
මීට ප්‍රථමයෙන් මේ කටයුත්ත කරනකොට අපි කරේ පෞද්ගලික විදුලි බලාගාරවලින් ඉමර්ජන්සි කියලා විශාල ගණන් ගෙවලා අපි විදුලිය ලබා ගත්තා. නමුත් පහුගිය කාලය තුලදී අපිට ඒ වගේ බලාගාරවල ගිවිසුම් කාලය අවසන් වුණාම අපි එයන්ට කිව්වා මාස 3කට නැත්නම් 6කට අපි මේ ගිවිසුම් අත්සන් කරමු කියලා. ඒ හින්දා ඒවා පිළිබඳ ගැටලුවක් නැති ගිවිසුම් අත්සන් කරේ නැහැ. සමහර කට්ටියකට ඕනේ කරනවා මේ බලාගාරවල ගිවිසුම් අත්සන් කරලා කොහොම හරි වැඩි මිලකට මේ විදුලිය ගන්න. ඒ හින්දා තමයි සමහර ඉංජිනේරු මහත්තු කතා කරන්නේ විකල්ප මාර්ග ගත්තේ නැති හින්දා අද අපි මේ අසීරු තත්ත්වයටපත් වෙනවා කියලා. කොහොමත් අපිට ඒ විදුලිය ලබා ගන්න වෙනවා පෙබරවාරි මාර්තු අප්‍රේල් වෙනකොට ඩවුට් එක වැඩි වුණාම ඒක ගැන අපි කල්පනා කරගෙන යන්නේ අමතක කරලා නැහැ. නමුත් අපි රජයක් හැටියට අපි කල්පනා කරන්නේ පුළුවන් තරම් වියදම අඩුවෙන් මේ කටයුත්ත කරන්න. විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය ගත්තාම ගිය අවුරුද්දේ මේ කාලය වෙනකොට බිලියන 35000ක පාඩුවක් තියෙනවා. අද අපේ පාඩුව බිලියන 7 දක්වා අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. මොකද ගිය වර්ෂයේම ජල විදුලියයි ගල්ලංගුරු බලාගාරයයි පාවිච්චි කරපු නිසා. පහුගිය සති කිහිපෙම රටේ සමහර වෘත්තීය සමිතිවල නායකයෝ ජනතා විමුක්ති පෙරමුණේ සමාජිකෝ ජනතා විමුක්ති සමිතිය ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕනේ කරන්නේ විදුලිය දෙන්න නෙමෙයි විදුලිය කොහොම හරි කප්පාදු කරන්න. අපේ බලාපොරොත්තු අපි රජයක් හැටියට මහජනයාට අවහිරයක් නැතුව නොකොඩවාම විදුලිය ලබා දෙන්න.
Meanwhile, the Norachole power plant is expected to resume its operations next week.
ගල්ලංගුරු බලාගාරයේ ගල්ලංගුරු වල කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. නියම ආකාරයට නියම වේලාවට ගල්ලංගුරු අපේ රටට ඇවිල්ලා තිනවා. අදත් ගල්ලංගුරු නැව් දෙකකට LC එක ඇරියා ඩොලර් 20000ක්. එක නැවක ටොන් 60000 ගාන එනවා නැව් දෙකක්. ඒකම තව අපිට LC අරින්න තියෙන පෙබරවාරි මාසෙට 7යි මාර්තු මාසෙට 7යි ඇරියම් මේ අවුරුද්දට ඇනවුම් කරපු සියලුම ගල්ලංගුරු ලංකාවට එනවා අප්‍රේල් 31 වෙනිදාට ඉස්සෙල්ලා.
Health experts in Sri Lanka say that some people stay away from the Pfizer booster dose as they believe in the misconception that it leads to various ailments. However, they urged people to complete the 2-dose vaccine program and to get their booster as soon as possible because studies now show that vaccinated people are less likely, or in fact 50% less likely to develop long COVID.
Even though 1 year has gone by since various COVID vaccines have been developed, with multiple studies proving its protection against COVID-induced death and morbidity, many still doubt the facts. COVID vaccines have played a pivotal role in aiding many countries to bring their COVID situation under control. Studies and data from hospitals have showed time and time again that over 50% of all COVID-related deaths take place among unvaccinated people. Here in Sri Lanka, the Ministry of Health stated that 69% of deaths had occurred in the country since vaccines were rolled out had been among the unvaccinated segment. Thus, the constant message has been for people to complete the 2-dose regime and get the booster dose as well, especially with the Omicron in the community. So far, Sri Lanka has been able to fully inoculate 64% of its total population and administer at least 1 dose to 74% of the island's population. In addition, the booster had been administered to 4,925,961 people so far. Health experts say that even though there was some initial hesitancy among people to get the booster, the enthusiasm is gathering momentum of late. However, some still question the benefits of the vaccine.
එක පැත්තකින් පුද්ගලයෝ හිතනවා එන්නත ගැහුවේ මාස 3කට කලින් නැත්නම් මාස 4කට කලින් එන්නත ගැහුව දවසේ ඉඳන් මාස 5ක් 6ක් 4ක් 5ක් තිස්සේ ඇති වෙන සෑම රෝගී තත්වයක්ම අර එන්නත නිසා ඇතිවෙච්ච රෝගී තත්ව කියලා. අපිට ලෙඩ්ඩු වෙනවා සමහර වෙලාවට රෝහලට මාස 4කට කලින් එන්නත ගහලා තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි දවස් 3කට කලින් ආව හිසේ කැක්කුම අර එන්නත නිසා නේද කියලා ඇවිල්ලා අපෙන් අහනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ එන්නතෙන් පස්සේ ඇතිවෙන සෑම රෝගී තත්වයක්ම ඇඟට දැනෙන සෑම අමාරු තත්වයක්ම හිතනවා අර එන්නත නිසා ඇති වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. මේක මිනිසුන් අතරේ තියෙන මිත්‍යා මතයක්. ඊට අමතරව තරුණ කට්ටිය අතරේ වෙනත්ම විදියක මතයක් තියෙනවා එන්නත නිසා නිසරුභාවය ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ලිංගික බෙලහීන තත්වයක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා ඔසප් චක්‍රයේ ප්‍රශ්න ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. නිසරුභාවය ලිංගික බෙලහීන තත්වය ඔසප් චක්‍රයේ ප්‍රශ්න ඇතිවීම මේ ෆයිසර් එන්නත නිසා ඇති වෙන ප්‍රශ්න නෙමෙයි. ඒ වුණාට මතක තියාගන්න කොරෝනා රෝගය වැළඳුනොත් මේ ප්‍රශ්න ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ලිංගික බෙලහීනත්වය නිසරුභාවය කොරෝනා රෝගිය නිසා ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් රෝගී තත්ත්ව දීර්ඝකාලීනව ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රශ්න.
Studies also now show that vaccines are not only effective in preventing hospitalizations and severe complications in people, but that it can also prevent people from sustaining long COVID. A study published in the medical journal Lancet showed that people with a 2-dose regime were 50% less likely to develop long COVID. A case-controlled study of 1.2 million users of a COVID symptom tracker app in the UK showed that there were lower odds in long COVID symptoms lasting 28 days or more in individuals who had received 2 vaccine doses. With 2 years gone by since the COVID pandemic, people who've contracted the virus prefer to stay away from the jab as they believe the immunity gained from the infection is enough. However, the World Health Organization urges people to go ahead and complete the 2-dose regime and get the booster even if an individual has been infected with the virus.
We can see from the data that's been collected that in fact you do better when you've had multiple ways that you've gotten your immunity. We do recommend that for people who have been recently infected that they wait about 3 months before they get their next dose, 3 and up to 6 months depending what dose that they're actually getting. And in part that's because you do have some improvement in your booster response if you're a little bit later out from when you from when you had your infection. But there is flexibility around this, and really the best vaccines and the best course are the vaccines that you actually receive. So really encouraging people to complete their course of vaccination. And for those who haven't gotten started, as Sumya said, it's kind of irrelevant to talk about boosters if you haven't had your.
Now moving on with other local stories, Governor of the Central Bank, Ajit Niwan Cabral, expressed hope of reducing Sri Lanka's exposure to international sovereign bonds by 23% come July. Speaking to a foreign media outlet, the Central Bank Governor also brushed aside concerns over meeting the country's debt obligations this year, saying that a large chunk of it is Sri Lanka-based loans.
Out of the 6.9 billion, most of these loans are Sri Lankan-based loans, which we have already negotiated for rollover, as well as certain multilateral debts, which are also being funded with new receipts that are coming in. So we don't really see too much of a risk there. The only area that we do see some kind of a risk as well as concern is the international sovereign bonds, out of which we need to pay $1.5 billion back this year. And we have already paid back $500 million, and we have $1 more billion to be paid. Now, the overall situation is like this. We have approximately a further $12.5 billion of debt in ISBs to be repaid over the next 7 years. And in that context, we have already made arrangements to pay back the next loan, and we are funding that with alternative sources. And our strategy has been, since it is difficult to go to the markets at this stage, we have found alternative sources of new financing, which has assisted us to repay the debt of the ISBs, which means that in the last 2.5 years, we have reduced our ISB exposure by 17%, and by July, we would reduce it by 23%.
Now, Sri Lanka's High Commissioner in India, Milinda Morogoda, says that Colombo sees the relationship with India as the most important in the region. In an interview, he said that the island will manage that relationship in a way where both sides can work from the transactional, strategic to a special relationship and build trust. He also does not agree with the notion that Sri Lanka had to rethink its ties with India due to the country's economic woes.
Sri Lanka's High Commissioner in India, Milinda Morogoda, rejects the notion that Colombo had to rethink its relationship with India due to its economic crisis. Speaking to a media outlet, he insisted that from the moment President Gotabaya Rajapaksa took office, he has always been very focused on the relationship with India. He also noted that the developments in the last 4 weeks concerning India and Sri Lanka should be looked in a broader context and not as a quid pro quo. He has said that Trincomalee will be ideally positioned to be a hub for India when it comes for petroleum storage and refining, and Trincomalee can only really be used for that purpose because it is too far away from sea lanes to catch other options. That, he said, is a natural fit for Sri Lanka, and if India is in a position to include the island in the planning, then it is a win-win for both countries. Meanwhile, on the intense rivalry for influence in the Indian Ocean, with China on one side and India on the other with the Quad, Morogoda noted that in the 1980s, when Sri Lanka was perceived to be close with the US, there were tensions with India, and that had ramifications. The envoy noted that the island has learned lessons from history on how to manage this, and added that sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we learn from our mistakes, and sometimes we don't. In a way, that is our destiny and our fate. These are the realities for a small country, and we have to manage that. As for where the SAARC figure in Sri Lanka's plans, Morogoda said there's a limit to what Sri Lanka can do despite being a good member of SAARC. He went on to say, quote, "We see the relationship with India to be the most important relationship in the region. It is our most important relationship, period. We will manage that in a way where we can hopefully work from the transactional, strategic, to a special relationship and build trust. Both countries being democracies, both countries having different voices in the system, it will be 2 steps forward, sometimes a step backwards. That is how we will have to move," unquote.
We will see you soon after this break. Stay with us.
Big 3.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, says that he has the capability to rope in fellow cardinals in the quest for justice for the victims of the Easter Sunday terror attacks. Addressing an online forum intended for Sri Lankans living abroad, the Cardinal, however, noted that he is yet to resort to such a move in hope that justice will be delivered in a Sri Lankan context.
We have been waiting patiently with this government, which had promised us that they will do justice to us, but they have not done it because the Easter Inquiry Presidential Commission report very clearly has named a series of people as being responsible for inaction and allowing this group of gangsters to go ahead with the attack for their own purposes, and these people have not been brought to justice so far, including the former president, who now brags about himself and he says that he will not be brought to justice and all that. All this shows a kind of a deal inside the government to protect all these people.
In the meantime, His Eminence the Cardinal also explained how far the Catholic Church is willing to go to get the desired end result.
We have tried our best all along to try to get justice from our people within our own context. But all these attempts have failed. So therefore, it does not leave us much room but to explore the possibilities of going international. And that means also going to the UN. So we are exploring that possibility, and I do not exclude that. And not only the UN, but also some of the more pertinent, powerful countries that are in relationship with us. We will try to influence those countries also, because as Catholic Church we are an international organization, and we have our links all over the world. And at my level as a cardinal, I have my own fellow brothers who are cardinals in different important cities and important countries, where we will be able to do that. So I have not done that so far as a mark of hope that this will somehow find a local solution, but it becomes apparent to us that nothing is happening. In fact, the legal system operated by the Attorney General does not seem to consider the recommendations of the Easter Attack Inquiry Commission. Therefore, we are not left with any other option but to go that way.
Now, leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, calls on the government to provide awareness on the Omicron COVID variant to the people. His request came during an event in Birgama today.
යුරෝපයේ දිහා බලනවා නම් ඔමික්‍රෝන් මීටත් වඩා වේගයෙන් පැතිරෙනවා. සමහර රටවල් කියන්නේ ජනතාවයන් 50% ඔමික්‍රෝන්ට යට වෙයි කියලා. ඔමික්‍රෝන් ශීඝ්‍රයෙන් පැතිරෙනවා. ඒත් ඔමික්‍රෝන් වල තමසෙම මරණ ප්‍රමාණය උගත් දුරට අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් ඔමික්‍රෝන් ලබා ගන්න ඕන කිසිම කොවිඩ් අසංගතය ලබා ගන්න ඕන ඒ කියන්නේ දවස් කිහිපයක් Tamanට සේවය කරන්න බෑ. ඉතින් රටේ ජනගහනයෙන් වාගේ දවස් 5ක් සේවය කරන්න බැරි නම් ආර්ථිකයට තියෙන වෙනස මොකක්ද කියලා කියන්න ඕනයි. ඉතින් මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා රජය මේ අවස්ථාවේදී රටට දැනුවත් කරයි කියලා ඔමික්‍රෝන් පැමිණීම ඒ පිළිබඳ කටයුතු පියවර නාම කොටසක් ඉන්නවා එන්නත් ලාභකසන ලැබුවා. තවත් කණ්ඩායමක් තියෙනවට තුන්වෙනි එන්නත් ලබලා දෙන්න. මේ දෙකම අපි කරන්න ඕනේ. මේ දෙක කෙරුවොත් විතරයි යම් කිසි දුරකට අපිට පාලනය කරන්න. ඒ වගේම මේකේ උවදුර ජනතාව ප්‍රශ්න ස්ථාන ගතියුතු ආරක්ෂා පියවර ඒ සියල්ලම අපි දැනුම් දෙන්න ඕනේ. නැත්නම් සමහර විටන්නේ අද මේ රටේ මේ වසංගතය අවසන්.
The Sri Lankan Navy, together with the State Intelligence Service, have seized approximately 330 kilograms of heroin from 2 fishing vessels in the high seas. 11 crewmen from both vessels are confirmed to be Sri Lankan.
Following a joint operation that was conducted by the Sri Lankan Navy and the State Intelligence Service, over 300 kilograms of heroin was seized in the southern seas of Sri Lanka. The Navy intercepted 2 fishing trawlers at high seas which had been carrying approximately 330 kilograms of heroin. Navy spokesperson Captain Indiga De Silva said that the 11 crew members aboard the vessels were all Sri Lankan nationals. The operation was based on information received by the Police Narcotics Bureau. In the meantime, a joint operation launched by the Navy and police in the area of Chullipuram in Jaffna has led to the apprehension of a suspect with around 80.5 kilograms of Kerala cannabis. A house in the area of Chullipuram was searched on suspicion by the SLNS Uttara in the Northern Naval Command along with the Kankasanturai police. During the search operation, they were able to recover a consignment of Kerala cannabis weighing about 80.5 kilograms. Authorities stated that the narcotics were found in 38 parcels, which were stuffed in 5 sacks. During the operation, officials were able to apprehend a 38-year-old suspect in connection with the incident. He was identified as a resident of Chullipuram. The accused and the Kerala cannabis were taken into custody by the Kankasanturai police for legal proceedings.
Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank issued new regulations making it mandatory for hotel service providers to accept payments from persons resident outside Sri Lanka only in exchange. With the issuance of the rules, hotel service providers registered with and licensed by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority are required to deposit such foreign currency into a business foreign currency account of the hotel service provider or sell to a licensed bank within 3 business days. Hotel service providers must also credit payments into a business foreign currency account of the hotel service provider in the event such person resident outside Sri Lanka makes payment using an electronic fund transfer card. At the same time, hotel service providers may accept payments in Sri Lankan rupees from overseas travellers if they can submit original documentary evidence proving that such Sri Lankan rupees represent the foreign currency brought into the country. The documentation should also be able to prove that they were converted through a licensed bank or an authorised money changer in the country. Now, taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, a new methodology to calculate the all-share price index was introduced at the Colombo Stock Exchange today. The SPI gained 12.50 points to end at 13,384.11, while the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks ended at 4,627.03, following a gain of 22.04 points. Market turnover was 18.4 billion rupees for the day. Now, with that, here's Dimantha Mathi with a brief report on today's market performance.
Overall, we are seeing the index closing at 13,384 points. Also, the S&P SL 20 index was up by around 30 points, and something important that was launched today was the index from today is calculated on the float adjusted market cap. There is a new calculation methodology for the all share price index, and it took place from the start of the day today, and with it we saw slightly lower volatility in the index taking place. very high level of turnover today. 18.5 billion rupees of turnover was recorded. In addition to that, we saw a fall and a recovery in the retail favorite counters. So there was a lot of selling pressure at the start of the day, but after midday we saw buying interest coming back into the market, and most of the retail favorite counters managed to gain and enter positive territory, and that is a very positive sign, and there is an improvement in confidence levels with the market recovering similar to that.
The rupee, meanwhile, once again remained unchanged at 202.99 cents against the US dollar. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee fared against other major currencies during the day. The European Union said today that the EU and the United States would impose sanctions on Russia if they invade Ukraine. The Danish foreign minister said that the price Russia will have to pay for trying to force military action would be having to face economic and political sanctions that would be more severe than what was imposed in 2014.
The Danish foreign minister said today that the European Union is ready to impose never-seen-before economic sanctions on Russia if it attacks Ukraine. The European foreign ministers meanwhile said they would send a unified warning to Moscow. East-West tensions have risen since Russia massed troops near Ukraine's border, with Western countries fearing Moscow is preparing an invasion.
We are ready if Russia would do this aggression against Ukraine, invade a sovereign country. It will be against international law. It will be against European security order. It will be something totally unacceptable, and we will be ready, EU and our friends in US and others, to impose comprehensive economic and political sanctions never seen before. Russia should know, Putin should know, that the price to use provocations and use military forces to change border in Europe would be very, very high. They would be totally isolated, and they will have harsh reaction from all of us.
However, the Danish minister declined to say what sectors would be targeted. The Danish FM said that they are ready to impose sanctions more severe than what was imposed in 2014. The EU, along with the United States, imposed economic sanctions on Moscow targeting its energy, banking and defense sectors after Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula in 2014. Meanwhile, US Senate Democrats have unveiled a bill to potentially punish Russian officials, military leaders and banking institutions.
Former Sri Lanka cricketer Roshan Mahanama has resigned from the Technical Advisory Committee on the Development of Cricket in Sri Lanka. Speaking to AdaDerana, Mahanama said that he has decided not to continue in his role as a member of the Sri Lanka Cricket Advisory Committee with effect from the 21st of January due to personal reasons. The four-member Technical Advisory Committee had been appointed by Sports Minister Namal Rajpaksha for the development of cricket on the 5th of February 2021. Chaired by former Sri Lanka batsman Aravinda De Silva, the committee had been tasked with working closely with Sri Lanka cricket in order to uplift the standards of cricket both locally and internationally, thereby ensuring and inculcating a sustainable high standard of cricket in the island. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.